Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today is a bit of a longer video because boy, we are going to crank out some cards today. So this is going to move pretty fast, but you'll see why soon. Now, what can I put behind this? What can I add as a quick background? What can I add as a background for a really simple little butterfly die? Now, I'm going to use the same supplies for every card today, and we are going to make, I don't even remember how many I made, but this gorgeous little butterfly here, it's just a single die. You cut it out. You also have that little centerpiece which you can pop back in if you want to, but we are going to start off nice and fast here. So I have some cracked pistachio distress oxide ink. And this is going to be option number 1, super insanely simple. This is truly like less than a 5-minute card, and there's not many of those. A little bit of ink. I'm using a domed foam blender. You can see how gorgeous this already helps the butterfly stand off the page just like that. Now I also have this mini set here, the thank you sentiments from Wow. This is a mini set, as I said, so a great price point. We love that in a mini stamp set. I love this thank you, but I'm going to do something here at the very beginning. So I stamped this as this stamp came, and it's a gorgeous, crisp, beautiful thank you. I'm stamping it in some VersaFine Onyx black ink, but I just don't like it stacked. It's off center, it's a little bit funny for my liking, so I'm going to cut the stamp apart so that it is side by side for all of these. So I am going to start again. I'm going to add a little bit of ink on the back, any ink, and just imagine all of these times when I'm saying ink, it could be watercolor, you know, it could be crayons, it could be colored pencils, it could be alcohol markers, it could be anything. So just imagine when I'm saying ink that it could be other options too. But we have gone super simple. I stamped the thank you down the bottom. I put foam tape on the back. I'm layering it up because I've cut it a little bit smaller onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. A little bit of glue behind the butterfly. Popped this guy on, and this is just a basic, gorgeous, simple card. Now that is just option number 1. We are flying through these, as I said. You can use the same color, but just for interest's sake and for keeping the interest for me throughout this video, I'm going to change up the colors a little bit. So blue, we're going with blue. There doesn't have to be any perfect ink blending for this one, just pop it down. Find a stencil. You might have something nice and plain like the squares, the hexagons, or something a little lacy like this one here. I'm going to choose to go for the gorgeous hexagons. I think this is called Brushed Hex maybe. It's new-ish from Tim Holtz, and I'm loving it. I've been using it on lots and lots of cards, but I love it. Good value for money when we can use it over and over again. Add another layer of the same colored ink. This one is pretty much the same as before, but an extra layer of stenciling can just really amplify the card. So again, the same sentiment stamped out in the VersaFine Onyx black ink. You could also do a coordinating ink, like a blue ink as well. And I'm only going to put glue behind the center of the butterfly so that we get a good bit of dimension in the wings. That means it can go through the mail nice and flat, but it will pop up and it is there available. I'm also going to add a few little enamel dots to the center. This again is just one of those things that takes it to the next level. Super simple, super simple. Probably took 6 minutes, but still gorgeous and stunning. Okay, we are moving on to the next one. These are moving fast. This is one of my favorite stencils. This is the Brocade from LDRS. I have some masking paper here. If you don't have masking paper, you can always die cut a circle out of just copy paper and then put some low tack tape behind it, or you can just hold it in place and be a little bit careful, or you can use some post-it notes. I mean, go for gold. There's always, where there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a way. So with this one, we are definitely stepping it up a little bit, and I am going to use some modeling paste or some texture paste. Now, these are all very similar things. They have tiny, slight differences, but in general, there are so many brands out there, and I'm certain you can make your own as well. I like the light and fluffy one from the Crafters Workshop. It is just beautiful, buttery, smooth. It dries quick. It's flexible when it dries. I have added some ink in with it down on, I used a little stencil mat. This is the Waffle Flower stencil mat, and that just means I can wipe everything off really easily and clean up as a breeze. Then I'm just going to add the stencil over top and stencil the pattern through onto our circle. So it's almost a double masking because we've got the masking paper down, then we've got the stencil down, and I'm left with the gorgeous, gorgeous pattern left behind. Now, this is what this looks like. It is absolutely stunning. It's going to look even better with a little bit more ink behind it, and this is just going to give the edges a little bit of definition, and because at the moment obviously it's white in the background and we just really want it to be a stark, crisp outline around the edge of that circle. This is always my favorite part. Once it's all nice and dry, I can peel off the masking paper. We can reuse this time and time again, so don't throw this out at this point. But look how gorgeous this looks as a background. It reminds me, it almost looks like suede or something like that. It looks beautiful. Anyhow, I decided to do the edges. This is another little technique that we can do to take our card making to the next level. I'm using some low tack tape to run my ink along the edge. You could also just use a ruler and run a pen down the edge, whether it be a coloured marker or a black marker or anything. There's always a different way to do it, but I just use this, reuse the tape over and over again and add some of the same colour ink down the edges, and this gives us a really nice matting layer. Of course, you can use an actual matting layer. That's another option. I've got my gorgeous butterfly, of course, and here's going to go right in the middle. Again, I'm stamping the exact same thank you because I just want you to see that even with the same, we're not changing up the whole card design, and yet they can end up looking really different and really beautiful with just a couple of little steps up. So for this one, I'm also going to add some gold sparkly Nouveau drops down the center instead of the enamel dots this time. These will take a minute to dry, but I think they look stunning against the blue. Right, we are moving on to the next one. This is like some corrugated cardboard or something. It came as packaging and I put it aside and was like, that's going to be fun for something. Not only would this be great on a gel plate, I think that would be super fun, but I decided to make a bit of a frame out of it, and we're going to frame our butterfly. So I am not a big fan of measuring, if you've seen my videos before. So this would also be really easy to do with a craft knife if you have one, but I just had my scissors here, so I'm just going from the inside and sort of trying to get the edges as straight as I possibly can. I'm taking some vintage photo Distress Oxide ink and just going over the edges just to sort of bring it out a little bit and bring out a bit more texture and, you know, a little bit of something different there as well. You can you could skip the ink, you could also do it in like some blue ink or something. That would be lovely, but we're going for a rusticy sort of vintagey look, I guess, for this one. Now, in the background of this, I could just leave this white as a complete frame, but I decided to bring in the 49 and Market. This is the Toast collection. I know I've used this one in lots of videos too, but it's because it's fabulous, and there are maps in here, there are mushrooms, there are script pages, newspaper pages. There's lots of butterflies in here, it's all sorts of good things, and so I'm going to choose a little bit of this one to go behind. I'm just smudging on some vintage brown vintage photo ink on there, and then I'm going to of course line this up just with the most interesting part that I can see. It doesn't matter, I wasn't sure if I wanted less or more map in the background, and I'm going to go with a little bit more over the other side. And so this is just going to be a background. Of course our butterflies are just stark white, so it's going to pop off here really, really nicely. A little bit more adhesive on the back, and then this is going to go down onto my card front, my little panels. I've made all of my panels today around 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Stamped down the bottom again, and then when I was about to put this down onto the thing, I thought it needed a little bit of a border. It was just a little bit too white on white. So actually I'm going to pick this off again before it dries and then I'm just going to take the same brown ink and just go around the edges gently, and you'll see that this makes a really nice difference. We could have added a matting layer, absolutely, but this was just as quick and I had the ink dauber right there. I was good to go. Now I hope that this just makes you sort of see that you can also just pick one very simple little die like the butterfly die, and we can just transform it. You can put anything behind it, any scraps. If you had some bubble wrap, you could do some printing behind the gorgeous butterfly. That would look stunning as well. I didn't even get into what we could do with the butterfly. I didn't even want to start. I almost started like whether we were going to emboss it and the colors that we could put on it and all sorts of good things. You could use Nouveau drops smeared over top of it, all these lovely things, but I decided to just not even go there because that's just even another video. Now, I have these Hero Arts rub-ons here. These are just, these sing to me. Now, I've used these in the previous video, which I'm not sure, it may come out before or after this one, but I absolutely love these. As I said, these are rub-ons. And they're new to me, that's for sure, and there are obviously different things. There's sort of music notes, there is different types of script, there's newspapery script, there's maps, there's, it's just all beautiful. This is what makes me happy. So I've cut out a little bit of that fine script, and then I've also cut out the same size circle and some copy paper, just plain copy paper. Because this is what I was saying before, that you don't have to have the masking paper or anything if you just have copy paper. If you don't have a die cutting machine, then for the backgrounds for these circles, you can just cut out a wonky circle and make it look wonky on purpose. I'm all about that. I have videos on how to do that. You can even tear it with the torn edges, tear a circle and then ink it, and that looks stunning as well. You could have done that as a background. I mean, this truly is just a tiny glimpse into the things that you can do, what you can put behind such a simple image. So I put a little bit of color behind there, and it's the same size circle as what I die cut the script out of, all of the little text. And then I'm going to place that down. I do need to use they give you a little popsicle stick, or you can use a bone folder or anything like that to press it down all over, and then you're slowly able to peel this up. Now, one thing I love about these Hero Arts rub-ons is that there is no glare or sheen when you move them from side to side. So I guess maybe I'm not sure if this is just a good quality rub-on, but some of them have a real shine, and you can sort of see the shine on the edges of them in particular, but this is just stunning. I absolutely love this. Now I'm going to stamp exactly the same one in the same place where we've stamped them all along, and at the moment I know you think it's looking a little bit plain. I'm going to add some of the same blue ink that we added in the background, pop that around the edges, and then just hold on, because I think this one ends up looking really cute as well. If you have a text stamp, you could of course put that over top of the mask that we made out of copy paper instead of using the rub-ons. That would obviously work perfectly. I didn't even really want to get into stamping at all because I felt like that was a whole nother topic. I mean, obviously during this kind of thing, your brain just runs wild, and there are so many good options, but it's good to be reminded of these options and reminded that actually some of these shorter cards to create are just so fun and look stunning as well. So this one is coming along pretty well. I popped the center back in that butterfly just for something different to see what it would look like, and I quite like it. It does fill in the center, that's for sure. But then I'm going to go over it with some blue Nouveau drops to add those. And I just do little drops, and then I kind of circle up. You can see I kind of twirl up to get them perfectly rounded on top. It's pretty cute and quick, and now we're going to move on to our next one. This one is like a floating card panel. Now, I have done videos on this as well before. And before you get frustrated, I feel like I need to remind you that not all acetate cuts well with dies, and that can be so frustrating. So see on the packaging here, this one says works well with metal dies, and that's one of the reasons why I love this acetate. It's the only one that I use for that reason, and that I know I don't have to worry about whether I've picked up the right one or the wrong one, or whether it can do the job or not do the job. So this is the Hero Arts one that I love because I know I can die cut it easily. So what I've got is a little square here. I have some rainbow glitter cardstock out of this card pack, and I've just cut some little strips and popped some adhesive on the back of them. Now I just wanted to line these up to see if I needed that extra dark blue one, and I decided not to. I also decided I needed to trim a couple so that they would fit a little bit better. But I have that white piece of that piece of acetate down there on the white paper. I know it's really hard to see, but it is there behind it. I usually die cut second, and that just gives me clean edges rather than die cutting first and then having to trim around the circle. So once I've got all my strips down, the other side is obviously not going to look flash. I just rip it off that piece of paper. Don't worry about ripping it, it's just a scrap. Then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and it's going to cut crisp and beautiful. And that's part of the thing that I don't have to worry about when I use this. I am going to line it up so it's sort of as even as I can get, making sure I'm getting a little bit of each of the colours. Pop a little bit of mint tape, which is just a low tack tape when I run it through to make sure that it doesn't shift. And then this is gorgeous so far. But how we make it floating is we pop some foam tape on those little bits on the back. Now you want to make sure that you go with the stripes, obviously, because we don't want to see it from the front, and that's what gives it the sort of floating element, I guess. So with this foam tape that I use, this is from Alina Crafts, and it comes in 2 thicknesses, but even the thin one here, you are able to cut this in half really, really easily. So you can get it so skinny if you need to. I had one strip there that needed to be super skinny, and this cuts like a dream in half. Even that little skinny one cuts easily. So now I've got all of the back with all full of foam, and I just need to make sure I'm going to put the sentiment in the right place. So I just pop it there just so I can sort of see where it's going to go. I wasn't sure if I wanted the stripes of the colours to go horizontal or vertical. I wasn't sure, but I'm not sure if there's a way that I should know. But I wanted there to be some blue matting layer here. Now this is the glitter cardstock, but I obviously don't have a piece that's big enough because of the slimline pad that I have. So no one's going to notice at all that I'm actually going to double do this, and this will be just fine. No one will be able to see that there is a crack. No one's going to be looking for it, so they won't see it, and it looks perfectly seamless. Then add some more double-sided tape to that. Add it onto my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. And then we've got all that foam tape popped up behind that acetate circle, so that's going to pop off the page and float beautifully. I decided that I would have these stripes going horizontal for this one. It just kind of looked a little bit better when I popped the butterfly on the front, but we're going to keep it really simple. The white butterfly is perfect to pop off all of these little colourful backgrounds that we have created, and I'm preferring it on an angle just a tiny little bit. But here are the 6 cards that we made today, all sort of stepping it up along the way, but you can go from simple and gorgeous and beautiful to adding in the stencils and a few of the enamel dots. That definitely steps it up a little bit, but still super simple and gorgeous. This one is using the texture paste, colouring the texture paste and using a mask behind it, although you don't have to, that's for sure. We also added a matting layer or a faux matting layer to that one. Then moving on to the next one where we added some rub-ons as a background. Anything that you have lying around or some old rub-ons that you think you need using up, this would be a good place for them. Then for the next one, we went ahead and used some recycled materials to create a frame for this one, and I really like this. It's a little bit sort of mixed media-y, and I really like that. Something a little bit different, and it was still really easy to create and didn't take us long at all. This one stepped it up with some Nuvo drops in the center as well, and then moving on to the last one where we created our floating frame. I hope that some of these have given you some great ideas to use the supplies that are in your stash. Thank you so much for joining me today. As usual, I will have supplies linked down below, as well as a link to the Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to support my channel here on YouTube. And other than that, I can't wait to see you in the next